CCRA is the registered community organization for the area bounded by South Street to the north, JFK Boulevard, and Broad Street to the west, and to the Schuylkill River. Tonight's meeting will go as follows. Our presenters will use Zoom to present their projects. We ask that you state your name and address prior to, I'm sorry, I have some people that can't get in and I have to attend to it.
From a prominent nonprofit in exchange for a pair of political favors that benefited the company. The government also alleges the bribe money was concealed as payments to a consulting company started by the Democrat's wife and co-defendant Don Chiu. Two former executives are charged alongside the government.
Judith Axler, while our host is you mute yourself, please.
Favor of two women who say the Philadelphia Police Department ignored sexual harassment claims and even retaliated against the accusers.
Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Very good. Let's start again. Welcome to the CCRA RCO meeting. As you know, we are the registered community organization for the Center City area. I want to take a few minutes and let you know how the meeting is going to be formatted this evening. First, the presenters will present their project, and then we will be asking each committee member of the zoning committee to ask questions if they so desire. And then for each project, members of the public will be able to ask questions. When we get up to ask a question from the public, we ask that you state your name and address so that we can do accurate meeting minutes. When we're finished with the meeting, we'll vote either to oppose, to not oppose, or not oppose with provisos. We don't ever vote in favor of an application, but our decision, as listed above, is emailed to our council person, the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and to the applicant. But no matter how we decide, if you are concerned about a project, we encourage you to attend the ZBA hearing itself, where you'll give an opportunity to voice your concerns. Okay, so I shall begin with our first project, which will be 1738 Pine Street. Do we have a representative of that project? All right. I'm watching my email here carefully, and I'm, if the representative for some reason could not get in, we will put them back up at the top. I'm going to the second case. This is 1746 Lombard Street. Do we have a
Yes.
representative?
Yes.
Yes, good evening. Yeah, good evening. My name is Al Fiscaldo. I'm counsel for the applicant, Harry Madonna.
Okay, Al, just let me go through the refusals.
Mhm. Sure.
All right, and then unless you would like to do it, you're welcome to.
No, feel free.
This application is for the demolition of an existing roof deck and roof access structure and for the erection of an addition above an existing attached structure to include 2 roof decks for a single-family household living and for 1 interior off-street accessory parking space as previously approved. Size and location is shown on the application plan. The reason for the refusals are rear yard setback of the addition required is 7 feet, proposed is 0 feet. The height is allowable 38 feet, proposed 53 feet, 6 inches. And then, whereas the roof decks must be set back at least 5 feet from the extreme front building line, but 3 of the proposed roof deck setbacks are not compliant. Al, if you'd like to take it from here and show us your materials.
Oh, well, thank you so much. So with me tonight is my client, the applicant, Harry Madonna, and also our project architect, Ian Toner, from Toner Architects. So I'm going to give just a brief overview, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ian. He's going to walk everyone through the program for the project, if that's all right. This is a single-family attached dwelling at 1746 Lombard, which is the southeast corner of 18th and Lombard. It's Mr. Madonna's residence. He purchased it in 2012, and it's a corner property, 3 stories high with a roof deck and with no basement. The property's built out to the lot lines and has no yard space whatsoever. It's again, the building completely encompasses the lot. So the only outside space that Mr. Madonna has is his existing roof deck, which is in disrepair. And as part of his consideration to repair that roof deck, Mr. Madonna would like to add a 4th floor to his building, to his house, for some additional indoor living space to complement the updated roof deck that he's proposing. The building, as you'll hear, has significant internal constraints that limit its usable area inside the building and prevent that space from being reorganized. The building was an aggregate of 2 other buildings that has a structural brick retaining wall that kind of runs through the middle of the building. Mr. Madonna canvassed the neighborhood and spoke to as many neighbors as he could about his project, and the vast majority of those neighbors, as you saw from the sign-out sheets that we sent in, either were in favor or did not oppose his project, and those favorable opinions came from neighbors in all directions. I'm going to ask Ian to just walk again everyone through the program using the plans and renderings that he prepared. Then we'll be happy to take any questions. Ian, can you share your screen?
Yes, thank you. Here we go. Okay, is everyone able to see the drawings on screen?
I can.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, so here maybe it's easiest to start with the plan.
Everyone,
Hello?
please mute.
Had a little invader there.
Yeah.
I've been there. Okay, so this is the site plan here. And so north is to the left in this drawing. So this is Lombard here and 18th Street here. So this is the view you would have from 18th Street looking at this direction. So if you've walked by the property, you know there's a garage here and then the entry door. And the city considers this side to be the front of the property. So you'll see that this area in red was marked by the plans examiner during review saying this is where you should have a rear yard on this addition. It should be set back from the building line, for what that's worth. The dashed lines here on the plan where I'm tracing out is the extent of the current roof deck, and the current pilot house is right here. So the current deck is set back a little bit from the edge, and the pilot house is kind of tucked over to the side here. So the plan, and I'll get into the interior stuff, but I just want to orient you to what we are proposing to do. So the proposed project is to add a partial fourth floor here, and that's this line here. So it's this area, leading out to a roof deck where you can just walk straight out to the roof. Then there will be a spiral stair up to a roof deck on top of that. So there's not another pilot house above this. There's just a stair up, and then you're up here. We're also proposing a wall here that goes above, and this, I'll get into this when we're talking about the height. There's a solid wall here to mount a TV and a retractable awning to be able to be outside and under, you know, sunny weather. I don't know, anyone who's been on a roof deck on a sunny day knows it gets hot pretty fast. So being able to have some shade, and then rather than use posts, use a shade structure, a wall to hold the shade, and then that wall would be able, we could mount a TV to that wall. So if I go now to the building plans, I'll walk you through the basic layout. So I want to clarify one thing. There is a small partial basement under this house, but it's only accessible from sidewalk doors over here. So it's not an option for living space. It's very small, it's low, and it contains utility stuff. So there's not really any option to use that space, nor would we, you know, want to go through all the work of doing that to get a basement room with no, you know, maybe one window and not much else. So again, 18th Street is to the bottom of the page. This is the garage here, one car garage. In the entrance door, you're right in the kitchen, and you know, a sort of an eating living space here, leading back to the garage and a powder room. On the second floor, and I can zoom in, maybe that's easier. You'll see you get up to the top of the stair, you're in this kind of room. We didn't even know what to call it. We just called it stairs. It's not a really usable room, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. This wall is the wall that Al was referring to. It's a brick wall. The structure runs from here to here, and then from here to here. So this wall is a load-bearing wall all the way down through the building. It has punctures through it, but to remove this wall, to say, make a larger living space by combining these things just it's not practical to do. The house would have to be completely taken apart in order to make that work. So that's part of why we're going up. When you get up to the 3rd floor, again, you're in this sort of interim space that doesn't really have a purpose, then a master bedroom, closet, and bathroom. So a total of 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms currently. Then we would go up, so continuing up that stair again, up to this new living room to connect to the new roof deck. It would have a wet bar, powder room, some storage space, and then you can step out onto the roof deck and then go up the spiral stair to the upper roof deck. We would be required by the code to set back 5 feet from both street faces here. If we were to do that, we would be really squeezed on deck space, and I guess you could say we could make this room smaller, but then the room becomes less usable. So that's why, you know, we're proposing what we are in terms of the spacing and the issue of the setbacks. Let me see what else we might have in here. So then we have the roof. We have a mechanical screen to hide the mechanical equipment, and then we have this upper roof deck and the lower roof deck. And again, we're proposing to keep the guardrail at the edge rather than set it back 5 feet. 5 feet would be more than it's set back currently. Okay, I think And these are just elevations. Again, we're proposing some materials here, a steel stair, glass guardrail to kind of mitigate the building feeling taller at the edge here. Gray metal panel, likely zinc, again, glass up at the upper level. And here what you're seeing in the background is this TV wall that I talked about. And here it is here with the retractable shade, some nice tall windows. And I have, okay, this is just the back side. We're not proposing any vinyl. We're looking at metal all the way around because we know nobody wants to look at vinyl siding. This is the existing condition now. You can see the glass railing that's up there from the current roof deck. This is the cornice line, which we're going to maintain on these, these two parts before we pop up with the addition. And I can show you here, we have some renderings. So this is the view from the north, looking at from Lombard Street here, looking at the front, what I would call the front, but is actually the side. This is the front. Here's the addition behind the glass railings. You can see out, visually this cornice line is maintained. From the side here, we feel that the darker gray kind of helps to set the addition off from, we know we're not going to match this brick, so trying to do it in brick seemed like a little much. So it helps it visually kind of recede a little bit from this primary facade. Again, the glass up above. And I think we have one rendering where we're sort of to the south, and here's the screen. This is the addition here, and then the screen wall kind of popping up on the back here. So that's the view from the south. I did want to show you one more thing, which I know we added late, and I'm not sure how you distribute information, so you may not have seen this yet, but this is an area map. Here's our site here, our height to, now I'm saying 44.6 because that's the top of the addition, not including this freestanding screen wall. For reference, so the part of the building that you're really seeing and thinking of as the addition is proposed to be 44.6. And I tried to map out some of the heights of buildings nearby just to get a sense of the context. So we have the hospital over here. We have a very tall building right down the block here. To the south, this is the parking garage, and I think this is pediatrician and some other things in here. This varies because it's a sloped parking deck. That's why I have a range. 5 stories over here, height unknown, but it's a tall 5 because it's a commercial building. And then we have these blocks on Pine. These are, I'm again estimating based on a long time spent counting bricks out of photographs, but roughly 50 feet on these buildings, 46 and 42, 42s, or these are newer. So those I was able to pull the real number from the drawings, 60 over here. So we're kind of in a zone where there's a lot of taller stuff kind of between us and, with the neighbors. I realize there's plenty of buildings that are not taller, but we're not out of the realm of where the taller buildings that there are hitting. I think we're kind of in that zone. So that's kind of my spiel, but I'm happy to answer any questions if there's anything I missed or anyone wants clarification on anything. Or I can just stop sharing and we can just talk. It's up to you. And you're muted.
This is Bob Lane, one of the members of the committee. So I live right at 1900 block of Pine Street. Those buildings are not 50 feet. You said you counted bricks and it's your estimate?
Yeah, and I looked for any zoning applications that have been filed where drawings were submitted in the archive. This is kind of what I was seeing.
Bob, why don't you start out with your questions?
Well, basically, I was wanting to understand Ian's the basis for his estimates. I'm sorry, Janice. The only comment I have, and maybe it's a question more for Al Fiscaldo, is the height of that corner seems, from your own rendering, seems very looming and dominating. Is there any hardship, Al, that I think Ian talked about why it's good design, but is there any hardship that you're maintaining for that?
Yeah, I think, Bob, the hardship, since it's a dimensional variance, the hardship is more on the financial end, in that, you can't go down to create living space. You can't really reorganize the inside to create living space. And so the only real option is to go vertical to create that sort of indoor outdoor living space to make the property work the way Harry wants it to work. And I think the other buildings in that area have that fourth floor by virtue of a basement, and this building just, for whatever reason, just doesn't have a functional space down there.
No more questions.
Thanks, Bob. Can we go to Robin Sweet, please?
Sure, thank you. How tall is the current building that's there?
The current building is 31.6 to the roof, the main roof, not including the pilot house.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Ben Weinrob, please.
Yeah, just a quick question as to why the addition on the fourth floor is designed at 13 feet versus matching some of the lower. And second question, the TV wall, if we're going to have a lower roof deck, why can't you use the existing wall of the new, or the wall that's going to be built as part of the new addition as your TV or projection wall?
So design-wise, we wanted a nice tall space upstairs. Sure. I mean, the code allows us to have a much lower ceiling and still call it, a room, but the goal is to have a very nice space with a tall ceiling, lots of sunlight. And similarly, we're proposing a lot of window. Let me go back to the rendering here, if I can. We're proposing some large windows on, I guess we can't really see them in this view. Got to get back to the elevations. Large windows to let in a lot of natural light on that side of the building. Here we go. So we have like a folding glass wall that will open up to the roof deck. And so if we wanted to do a more solid wall, then we're blocking up more of the window space.
Are you set, Ben? All right, next, Evan Litbit, please.
Yes. Ian, can you tell us about the screen wall, what it's made of, what it's doing?
Sure. It is going to be, so it's up here. It's going to be the same material as the rest of the building. So some kind of gray metal, likely zinc. We haven't 100% settled on materials yet, but that's the look we're going for right now. It's simply there to create a stable structure to attach the retractable awning to, and then to provide a solid surface to mount the TV to. So that's really what it's there for. And will provide some shade, since it's on the south side of the roof, onto the roof deck, and a bit of a wind block on a windy day.
So is it a fully opaque wall?
Yes.
And how tall is it?
So it's about 9 feet tall.
Okay, and what's the width of it?
Let me get you back to the site plan and we can see all that here. So it's 11 feet, 10 inches. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong dimension. It's 10 feet.
10 feet, okay. Okay, my next question, I appreciate that there is no pilot house here. My question is there any consideration to moving having the spiral staircase not on the Lombard Street facing elevation, more, on the southern elevation where it's tucked away? It's a little bit front and center right now.
Yeah, I hear you. It wasn't something we looked at, just given what we were trying to do with views from the deck, and wanting to have the north side be the side that you step out to from inside. So were we to move it, say, like if we shifted the whole addition to the corner and made the open space back here, it's a much less appealing deck space to use than if it's out on this side.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next, Doug Miller, please. Are you there, Doug? There you are.
The only question I would have is that you did explore digging down because you have a nice footprint there. Of course, I understand why you'd go up instead of down, but did you explore that?
I mean, we explored it to the extent that we quickly said it wasn't going to work for this project. You know, we have
because of the garage.
In part the garage, in part because the first floor is just above the sidewalk. So the ability to get any window and light down into the basement would be window wells that are completely below sidewalk level, which is, as you might imagine, not going to give us very much light at all. And then we have the issue of the structural wall that's coming down, the foundation coming down between the two original buildings. So we're not able to get, say, like a nice open room down there because we can really only do it on half the house, and we have to accommodate the utilities that are already down there as part of it, and we can't get any sunlight down there. So it was a pretty unappealing option for what Harry wanted to do. So we looked at it, but it wasn't something we... I'm sorry? What'd you say?
Sure, it'd be a great place for a home theater.
Whoever's speaking, they're muted. I don't hear anything.
Me either.
Otherwise, maybe we go back to committee members' comments.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, we want have Michelle Saul, please.
I'm just wondering about the setback that you said would not be part of this project. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm curious as to, if I'm looking at this drawing that you have up now, the setback would be 2 or 3 feet on each side. Is that correct? Where the dotted lines are would be the equivalent of a setback. Is that right?
So there's 2 setbacks. There's one which is the rear yard setback, which would be 7 feet here where this red box is. And then there's a setback for the roof decks. So this is considered the rear of the property. So this east side, in theory, our addition needs to stop here, roughly, based on the zoning code. So I guess, you know, our rear yard would be like this. So our addition would get that much smaller. Then the other setback that's required is a 5-foot setback for any roof decks from the roof edge. So that's something more like this. The dashed line is the current deck, and you can see it's only 3 feet 2 inches back on this side and 4 feet 2 inches back on this side. So it would shrink back a little bit more.
So what would be, why wouldn't you keep the dotted line perimeters? I mean, looks like you still have a 7-foot depth of a roof deck there. Not to mention that you have a whole new roof deck above.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to maximize the amount of outdoor space that we can have because it's a small lot with no ground level outdoor space. So that, I mean, that's the reason, is just to get as much outdoor space as we can squeeze out of a property this size.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Charles Robin?
Well, Michelle hit on the questions I was going to ask, but I think they're very relevant. You know, if we just stick with the refusals itself, I would say that, am I correct in saying that presently there is no rear yard space as present?
Yes, that's correct.
Right, and now we're dealing with height, and we already discussed that, but exactly what Michelle said, if you're proposing not to have a 5-foot setback to allow a 4th floor addition, my question would be, if you complied with the setbacks, what would the square footage be of the 4-foot proposed addition? What would be the smaller space? What would be the square footage?
I will need a minute to come up with that answer.
I mean, I just need an estimate. I don't really have to have an exact.
Yep. I'm not fast at my mental math, but I have the numbers I need to multiply and I have my calculator going right now. It would be, that's a very good question. So thanks for asking.
Yeah. And to be frank, what you said, you know, using your words, you're trying to squeeze out the most square footage on the roof deck. But if you are allowed the height, which is a little excessive, and you did use the setback that's allowed, what would be the 4th floor addition square footage?
It would be 400 square feet.
As opposed to what's proposed?
Propose is, I want to give you the right number. Proposed is 600.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, the setback would mean that our addition would be like this area. I'm going to remove this line for clarity. Our addition would be this. So we're still at the edge of 18th Street. We're still where we are here. We just now have a slot of space on this, what most of us would consider the side of the property where we are abutting 1744. So this is the east side. So from the ground, it would look no different if we had this rear yard. It would just make the addition smaller. But effectively, these two sides are the sides you see from the ground, and they wouldn't move because the setback isn't required along here. It's back here.
It's not required along Lombard or 18th, you say?
No, what's required on these floors is the deck setback. So again, that's something like the railing for the deck would shift back like to here.
So the setback would be on 18th Street, the deck.
Yeah, the deck is required to be set back from any street face. So it'd be something like that. So the deck would be here, the addition would be here, and I'm actually not 100% sure if we could use this area as deck or not, but it would most likely just be mechanical stuff anyway.
But you would have a setback on 18th Street more so.
We would have a deck setback, yes, but the building would not change.
Thank you.
On that side.
Okay, we have one more, Stephen Rubin, and then myself.
Do you think the deck would be viable without the 9-foot TV wall on the south side?
I think that's a question for Harry.
Is it, I mean, I guess theoretically it's viable, but the goal is to improve what I have currently on my current roof deck space.
Right. Okay, all right, thank you.
Does that answer?
It does. I just wanted to get a sense. You know, it's effectively a fifth story on the south side, and I just want to get a sense from you as to whether there's a possibility of going without it. All right, thank you very much.
I want to pick up on Stephen's line of questioning a little bit, and I'm not saying that anybody's thinking any of this, but there's a couple of things to note about the expansion of this building. It was non-conform. Was the foot? Can you clarify? Is the footprint right now non-conforming?
Yes, it's covering 100% of the lot right now.
And under the zoning code, isn't it true that when you have a non-conforming building, you can expand it upward until the height limit, right?
Yes, but the addition, they're correct in the refusal that the addition would be required to respect rear yard setbacks. So that's why they pointed this out, you know, and said that we were not, that we had we need a variance for that. That's one of the refusals.
Okay. It would be really helpful for the committee, and I'm not saying that I'm not proposing this and they're not proposing it, but if there are features of this project that you would be flexible on, i.e. the material, the location of the stair, setback of the roof deck railings, and the TV, it would be helpful to us if you could so state, and maybe you'd want to do that with your client. And if you needed a minute or two to do that, that would be allowed.
Sure. Well, I'll toss this one to Al.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we would caucus. Trying to figure that one out.
Well, what I could do for you, if you could give it some thought, I just think it will help our discussion, because I know I can kind of tell about my group here. I know what they're probably going to say later. All right. So I'd like to move on to the next project. And then after that project is presented, I'll give you a few minutes to discuss with us anything that you think is flexible about the project.
That's great. Thank you so much. We will we'll be on when you're ready for us.
Yep. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll go to the next project, which is our first
Will there
project.
be opportunity for the non-members of the?
Janet, don't you want the neighbors
Oh,
come?
I apologize. We'll do that too. Oh, there you are. Are they still here?
I'm still here. Ian and Harry, you guys still here?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's continue so that the public does not, they can have their supper. I apologize.
I'm going to bring my screen. I'm going to reshare these in case they're useful. All right.
All right, who's here from the public?
Mike Shade.
Okay, Mike,
Me first?
looks like it.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Shade. I live at 1733 Naudane. We're about 100 feet from this property, and clearly it is a difficult property to improve. It's an odd structure to begin with. It's on a tough corner, and I believe some form of variances are reasonable to allow this homeowner to expand his building. However, I find the request to be really over the top, egregious. I don't mind a larger fourth floor addition. I don't mind eliminating the setbacks even, but to have a fifth floor outdoor media center is just beyond the pale as far as I'm concerned. It's a very unreasonable request for the neighborhood, and I'm fully against it. Shall I go on?
Certainly, you have your airtime.
I mean, as I said, there's many compromises that could come up with there, and Janice, I'd be happy to redesign it myself, but that's not my role here. There's many variances they're asking for. Again, I don't mind eliminating the rear yard setback. That seems reasonable. I don't mind extending the deck to the front. That doesn't bother me. I don't mind the size of the addition until it goes up above 13 feet is kind of crazy, but beyond that, turning that into a roof deck with additional mechanical screen 5 feet high and the 10-foot long media screen is just, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. Should not be allowed. I don't think we'd allow this media screen like that if it was built within the zoning envelope. It's just a ridiculous notion that someone can have an outdoor movie theater in their house, unless it's in their backyard or someone suggested in their basement. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Is there anyone else here for this project?
I am.
Okay, Tom.
Hi. I live at 1735 Lombard. They gave the impression by looking at houses on Pine and so on that this height is easy to encompass in the area, but it will very greatly change the nature of our block. Our block, if you know remember where La Baia was, between 17th and 18th. If you look at, this is a picture from Zillow. It's a very imposing structure as it is. I don't know if you can see this now, but if you look it up in Zillow, it's the second picture. It's already very imposing compared to the neighboring houses. When they combined two buildings into one and then opened up big windows and brick face over, it's massive on the corner. But to put this deck on top really, I think, changes the nature of the block and opens the door for other decks like it along the street. I don't know if this picture shows, and I don't know if this picture will show, but this is the current roof deck according to Zillow. Yeah, if you the middle picture starts to give you that impression from the angle, because the other houses have sloped roofs and this one comes all the way up, and now we're going to build a much higher structure visible from the street, really. If these are allowed, and you know, I'm all for him adding something if he needs to. But I would hope it would be within the allowable limits and not more than that. Concerning neighborhood support, Harry did come by my house and I wasn't able to see him. I was seeing patients at the time. I didn't realize until I saw the drawings how it looked like another floor and a half on top of this massive structure. So I began to collect signatures for a petition opposed. Then, given some half information, I became demoralized and thought, well, we don't have a chance. I was told he was once approved for 8 feet, so 8 stories, so we'll never win this. I only learned 2 nights ago that that wasn't quite the whole story, that the zoning had changed after that. And so I started to, I collected a few more. I have about 16 names, but I'm sure I would have collected a lot more if I hit that side of the street and gone to the block behind. It will change the nature of the block. I would prefer, if he has to have an additional floor, that it be set back and smaller.
Thank you, Tom. Is there anyone else from the public here? Amy Jared? You have to unmute.
You're still muted, Amy.
I'm curious about the zoning for other homes in the neighborhood, and I did have the opportunity to speak with Tom this afternoon, and I was liking this to the little kid with his finger in the dike. And if we're going to see further expansion, vertical expansion in the future on this block. I mean, this is a beautiful little block. It's so close to Rittenhouse Square. There are very old houses here. There's a charm that, you know, is, you know, that buses want to come down and say, oh, look how pretty Center City is. And I know this is, it's just an aesthetic concern, really. as I walk through the neighborhoods of Philadelphia and see what these mixed materials, I too don't oppose that he wants to have some addition. And I think currently it's pushed back, so it's not quite as obvious, but this is going to be very intrusive.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is that all from the public that we have? Anyone else?
How about Bill West?
Hello?
I'm Bill West, 1729 Lombard Street. I'd like to really heartily endorse Bob Lane's comments, and I am opposed to this proposal. I just think we're looking at a building that's already suffering from elephantiasis, and it's just going to get bigger. I just think that the owner is trying to stuff too much into this space, and that hardly ever works well. I can see that he has problems with the interior load-bearing wall and that sort of thing. But I think this would be a very bad change for this block. And that is my statement.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill, just for the record,
can you please provide your address?
I did, 1729 Lombard Street.
Thank you.
Janice, just for the record, I wasn't making any comments about the value of the application. I just asked questions, Bill. So just so for the record.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
all right.
Just
I noticed that the hearing is scheduled for the June ZBA date, which is before our June RCO meeting. So I'd like to know from Al if you are still wanting to go on that date.
On the June 22nd date?
Yes.
Yes.
So you will go no matter what.
Are you suggesting we push it off until after?
Well, I'm suggesting that I sense some flexibility in some of the neighbors for understanding that this is a difficult site. I also understand that the points that were, I'm just hearing the direction of this and not knowing what parts of this design are must-haves and what are not, that there needs to be more work done if this project were to receive further consideration, and that some of the minds that we have heard may or may not be persuadable. It's not something I can answer, but I'm just suggesting that perhaps you'd like to go down that route rather than try to rush our decision.
Yeah, I appreciate that opportunity. What is the committee's next meeting date?
It would be the third Tuesday, I believe. Let me just look this up for you. It's after your June ZBA hearing.
So the third, you said the fourth Tuesday?
Third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday.
That would be the day before our ZBA
okay.
here.
The day before.
That's the 21st.
Well, then we would be able to squeeze you in if you wanted to come back, and you could keep that date.
Yeah, is our zoning June 28th? I have.
yes, it's the fourth Tuesday, Janice, not the third Tuesday.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
We would be after. I guess I'll give Harry the option of, Harry, do you want to talk offline or make a decision as to continuing the zoning hearing to a later date and coming back before this committee on the 28th of June? Or we can talk offline and discuss it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to offer you the courtesy of, if you'd like to talk about this for a few minutes while we're doing another case, if you get back on to the meeting, you can let us know your decision.
Yeah, okay, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. We'll just meet our, we'll be ready when you are.
Thank you, Al. Thank you all, everyone, for the presentation, and thanks to my committee for correcting my problems with dates. Okay. Now we're going on to project number 1 on the agenda. Wanted to thank the patients, thank the presenters for their patience while we figured out the Zoom links. This is 738 Pine Street. It's zoned RMI1. The application is for the increase of multifamily household living from existing 6 units to 7 units in an existing structure. The reason for the refusals are dwelling units required 4 units, proposed is 7 units, and also a refusal for the area of the lots, required area 1,800 square feet and proposed 2,880 square feet. And with that, take it away.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to discuss this application. My name is Melanie Lacey. I'm with Claire Harrison, Harvey and Brandsburg, and I represent Glenn Goodman, who's the owner of the property located at 1738 Pine Street in this application of appeal. And I'll clarify that, what he's seeking to do is legalize 7 existing units in the building for residential use. So this application, as I mentioned, it relates to an existing 4-story building, and the applicant hasn't changed the layout at any point since acquiring the building in 2001. And in fact, at all times since 1973, the building has had 7 rental units. So the first floor has 2 units, and the street-facing unit has switched between office and residential use. But here we have an application for 7 apartments, and the building currently does have a license for 6 apartments. So here's the zoning history that I'm talking about. Back in 1973, there was an approval for 7 dwelling units. You can see 7 family here, and then subsequently it was changed to 6 apartment units with 1 office. And it currently does have a license for 6 rental units. So it is a non-conforming, an existing non-conforming building, and he's not seeking to change the layout in any way. Very simply, he's seeking to legalize all 7 units as dwelling units. So here's the zoning map. The property is currently zoned RM1. So with that being the case, both the number of units and the office use would be non-conforming. And as mentioned, that's precisely why we're here, but not to establish or do anything with office, just to make all of them residential. Here's a notice of refusal, which was described to you and discussing the unit count, which is at issue. Now I'll just show you, before I get to the photographs, we do have a letter of support from the immediate neighbor at 1736 Pine Street, who has been a neighbor for several years and is familiar with the property and its maintenance and management, and can attest to the fact that it's maintained in an orderly and cleanly fashion. And his tenants have been long-term, doesn't have any complaints. And given the fact that there aren't any exterior or interior alterations being proposed, there wouldn't be any change to the character of the surrounding area or the block in general. And here are some of those views for your reference. Let me expand my window so you can better see. And as you can see, mailboxes, doorbells, all of this has been in place for several decades, and we're here to formally legalize, to legalize everything, I should say, and just proof of mailing. So that sums up the presentation. I'd be happy alongside Glenn Goodman to address any other specific questions that you may have.
All right. I know that this is a relatively simple, straightforward application. So rather than do a roll call, I'm just going to ask members of the committee if they have any questions, and just raise your hand and I'll try to take you in order. If you wanted to stop share, that would be good for us. Thank you. Charles, did you have something?
Well, I just want to say it's a simple, straightforward. You're legalizing an existing use, correct?
Correct.
And the existing use was legalized by LNI in 1973.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing no further questions from the committee, are there members of the public who have any questions or concerns? Is Glenn, I think I see you trying to unmute yourself. We'll be
You're still
patient.
muted. If you could click the microphone icon.
It's hard on a phone.
It is.
I pity him. So
I'm Jonathan Goodman. I'm Glenn's son as well. I can also attest to any questions if the old man has a little technical difficulties over there.
I'm not hearing any questions from the public.
That's it.
Well, Glenn and Melanie, thank you very much for coming and providing your information, and we'll be back to you shortly.
Okay. So I do have a second application that I'll be presenting. Should I go in a waiting room or what is the protocol?
You're welcome to stay here.
Okay.
And your next one is, which one?
1709 Chestnut.
You are after 2051 Waverly. You're welcome to, use this as your entertainment, or I have your email. I'd be happy to email you when we're getting close to the end of this case.
I'll stay on.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next case is 20. Oh, I wondered if Al came back. Do we see him? Yeah, there he is. Al. This is for our previous case. I'm going to ask him to unmute.
He's been there with no video and no audio the whole time.
All right, so we'll still give him more time. Next case, 2051 Waverly Street. The zoning is RM1. The application is for the erection of an addition of a third floor roof deck above the third floor, accessed by a roof hatch to an existing attached building for the use as a single family household living. Size and location is shown on plans. The reason for the refusal is required rear yard setback of 7 feet and proposed 0 feet. All right. Looking to see who we have here representing that project.
Hi, I'm here. John Murphy up here.
Great, thank you.
I'm representing with my father. We currently we own the building. We've had it since 2017. I'm presenting it with my architect Phil Katz, who will lay out the plan accordingly.
Thanks, John. For the record, I'm actually not an architect. I'm an architect wannabe, but I have a company called Third Story Philly, and we're helping the Murphys out with this project. I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. Okay, I think hopefully you guys can all see it.
Yep.
So here's the house, 2051 Waverly. The house covers the parcel 100%. And you can see the aerial view here, as well as the street view down here. And I'm going to pull up some 3D graphics, which I think will make this more clear and show you how uncomplicated, straightforward this ask is. 1 second. Okay, so a 3D graphic of what you looked at on the aerial view there. So this is the existing house now, what it looks like, set back with the door here, set off the side. So what the Murphys are proposing is to cover the full envelope of the home with the third floor, to extend it out to the front and extend it out to the west. If they were to do this project by right, meaning if they didn't need a variance, here's what they could build. Looks nice, comes up to the front. A hatch here, they'll have steps to access the roof deck. And you've got then a 5 foot by 5 foot cutout here to conform to the code, which says it's a 7 foot required setback from the rear of the parcel. The rear of the parcel is the back of the house because, like I said, it's 100% coverage. So this is grandfathered in here, the existing structure. The first 2 floors aren't subject to a setback with this project, nor is the structure on the 3rd floor. There's nothing we can do there. So our proposal is to cover the full house. And you can see between this image here and the by right, it's very little that we're asking for there. There is no light impact to either adjacent property. You see one view here and the other view here from this side. There are no windows on either of the adjacent properties, and the outdoor space in both it has no impact on. You can see from the floor plan here what that 5 foot by 5 foot space gets us with this layout is a bathroom. So this is not an extension of a walk-in closet, hang more clothes, but a bathroom that actually makes this project viable. And by making this project viable and it going forward, we have a beautiful 3rd story home that covers the existing home. We think it'll be a nice addition to the street. I think it looks nicer than what's there now. So if they're able to get this variance, the project will happen, and this is what it'll look like. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me or the Murphys. Be on.
All right, thank you, Phil. Again, this is a relatively straightforward proposal, so I'm going to take a visual look at the screen for my committee members. And if you have any questions for the presenters, can you let us know? Charles Robin.
The only thing I would ask, and I know you're not an architect, maybe one of our architects could answer, is for the roof deck itself, is there, I'm not sure, a setback required off of the street?
Yeah, so the artist should have probably put that railing up. So I'm going to show you the site plan. Maybe it's on the it's on the elevation. So there will be a railing 5 feet back from the front, as depicted here. Minimum 5 foot roof deck setback. So for the ZBA hearing, we'll update this rendering to show that railing. Thank you for bringing that.
You will have that 5 foot setback.
Yeah, and this is the plan. This will be what we build, not the rendering. So we'll adjust the rendering.
Any other questions? That was a great way of showing the impact of the zoning visually. Thank you so much, Phil.
But last thing, I know I don't want to belabor this, but did you canvass any of the neighbors to get non-opposition support?
We sent out 140 letters, and John walked around and got, I'll pull it up here. I think I have it here. He got signatures.
Of the 20 houses I went to, I got 12 approvals, and I had 6 people not in their residence at the time.
Any opposed?
Not that I talked to in person. And I went to Pine, and I also went to 21st Street, which is the closest number street to my household.
I just want to add, if this is even necessary, that not that it's a hardship that can't be solved, but setting the addition back 5 feet over and not having it the load bear on the back wall and the sidewall is not as structurally helpful, as well as having then this little deck there that could potentially have drainage issues for the water. So from a construction standpoint, this is a better way to do it.
Okay, I think that we're set with this project. And again, thank you very much for your time tonight. Hope you got
Neighbors,
to-
Janice?
There's no neighbors here, Janice?
Yeah, right. Anybody from the public? Seeing none? We're set. We still don't have Al back, so we'll go to our fourth and final case. 17.
I'm here if you want to. We can. I'm sorry.
okay.
I was just finishing up. I couldn't hear you. I apologize.
Okay.
Great. We let Harry and Ian get back on. Are they here? Harry's coming back to his chair. But I'll just let the board know not to waste your time. So I spoke with Harry, and what we'd like to do is take advantage of your offer to come back at your meeting on the 28th to discuss maybe some alternatives, and we'll continue the hearing from the 22nd to another date.
Very good. Thank you so much. And if you need the names of the people who are here tonight, you can contact us and we can provide them to you.
That's terrific.
Right.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Melanie, we're coming back to you.
Okay, great.
1709 to 17 Chestnut Street. This is an application for a takeout restaurant. Whereas the proposed use takeout restaurant requires a special exception approval from the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the Chestnut Walnut overlay. Okay, Stephanie.
All right, good evening again. Another pretty
Melanie.
straightforward, no worries, Melanie, yeah.
Oh.
I'll introduce myself, Melanie Lacey. I'm with Claire Harrison. Once again, representing Starbucks this time in a special exception application for a takeout restaurant at 1709-17 Chestnut Street. And I'm accompanied by Andrew Kaufman, who is project manager of construction and store development at Starbucks for the Mid-Atlantic region. And Starbucks will be the new tenant of the vacant commercial space that was previously leased by Chow Pizza. Here I have some aerials and exterior photos for your reference, but I'm sure many of you are familiar with the strip as well as with this particular location on Chestnut Street between 17th and 18th Street, bound by Rancid at the rear. And here is an aerial and more photos, as I mentioned, of the current conditions. Interior as well. And I'd be happy to revisit any of these if you'd like. I'll continue for the sake of brevity. So the property is zoned CMX 5, and as mentioned, the Chestnut Walnut Overlay District requires special exception approval for the takeout restaurant use, which is the only reason for the notice of referral. And I'd like to, at this point, highlight what exactly is being proposed. So this store is going to be what's called a pickup location. And that means that patrons will place orders through the Starbucks app. They'll walk over to the store, pick up their purchases. And this is a growing store concept, which Starbucks has rolled out in 20 other markets, but it would be the first location in Philadelphia. So while some of the existing stores, I'm sure many of you are familiar, already have pickup areas, at this store type, around 90% of the orders would be exclusively placed through the app, and only approximately 10% would be of orders would be placed on site with a credit card transaction. So that means that patrons are in and out. There's no seating for them to dine inside. It cuts down on lines. It's very efficient. And I'll walk you through the floor plan. But I just want to provide that context for you in how this differs from other locations around the city. So there's a 282 square foot lobby. where the patients would pick up their orders, and a very small percentage would place new orders. As mentioned, there would ordinarily be around 2 partners at the counter to assist with handoff of their orders and verify the purchasers. And the rest of the floor plan is really for employee use only. You have the area where drinks and food would be prepared, and I'll clarify that there's no cooking on site, of course. It'd be the typical menu, which includes sandwiches and other pastry items, and those are prepackaged and heated without any cooking or exhaust. There's also office space and employee-only bathroom, as well as a delivery drop zone at the rear, and a mezzanine space up top, also for employee use. So it's really the small area at the front that where customers would occupy. We also have renderings of the exterior and interior. And you can see it's pretty consistent with branding that we're accustomed to, and just highlighting the fact that it is a pickup location rather than an ordinary Starbucks store. Again, now this time rendering, and inside it's pretty sleek, it's pretty minimalist, quite nice, and modest in size. And I know that everyone always wants to know what the trash plan is. We have a litter cleanup plan, and I'll clarify that the trash will be stored inside in trotters and picked up daily. Trash is expected to be rather limited because of that pickup concept. The trash will be more operational from the employees, and pickups would take place early morning, coordinated by the landlord with nearby locations. Outdoor receptacles will also be placed at the front and rear of the building, and it is standard Starbucks store policy that employees monitor and clear the perimeter of the property on an hourly basis. So as for operations, I'll just throw in the fact that it's fairly small, as you can see, and there would only be around 5 or 6 employees on site at any given time. Hours of operation from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. The building will have exterior security cameras provided by the landlord, as well as interior 360-degree cameras installed by Starbucks. So that summarizes the application, and we'd be happy, myself as well as Andrew, to address any questions that you have.
All right. Thank you, Melody. Can you take down the screen so I can see everybody?
Sure.
Okay, I'll ask the committee again, just to let me know if you have any questions for this applicant. Charles Robin.
Not so much a question for the applicant. I would just say that the fact that it's in CMX5 zoning in a commercial strip, we have a list of provisos that we use on a referral. Janice, maybe if you can take charge just to have them listed and have the applicant agree to them, it would be a simple application.
I do not have them in front of me, but some of them don't apply because you don't have exhaust, and the rest of them have to do with trash. I will send them to you. Unless someone on the committee has a copy, because if we could read them off, it would be.
I might even have a copy.
Yeah, let me look too.
Okay.
And while that's happening, if does anyone else want to, from our committee, have any questions? Okay, hearing none. Is there anybody here from the public? All right. Then you're going to have to wait while I look up the provisos here.
Janice, I think I found the provisos.
Thank you.
This is an older version, but I don't think they changed.
Thank you so much.
One is that I think all trash and waste generated at the premises would be stored internally, removed by a reputable and licensed trash hauler. Trash will not be picked up before 7 a.m. Monday to Friday or before 8 a.m. on weekends. Would you agree to that?
Yes, we would.
Okay. Disposable ware will have the name of the restaurant on them. I assume that was the case. Hours of operation will not exceed 11 p.m.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Trash would be removed minimum 3 times a week.
Correct.
Okay. No amplified music outside of the premises, and no music from inside the premises would be audible from outside of the restaurant.
That's correct.
And no deep fryer on the premises.
That's correct.
Okay. I think that's it.
Thank you, Wade. All right, Andrew and Melanie, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I would like to go over these in order of ease. So the first one.
Janice, I think somebody is still,
Corinne Packard, Andrew, there's some
is
people.
William West, Tom Bartlett's.
Yeah, I think we go into a private session, Janice.
Yeah.
So you can stop, you can knock them out yourself.
That's fine. Thanks.
I know.
And the recording also stops.
Bye-bye.
Just double check.